ओम गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुस्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Okay, next paragraph. After a long time we are continuing Sugama. There have been so many obstacles, so much of disturbance. I don't know what to do. We have got all vignas for Vedanta only. Because we have built up such a system where everything else becomes important and Vedanta becomes a secondary. Yadapi, anyway, let me try at least. Let me make use of this half an hour to speak on Sugama. Yadapi chodyate kaischit kinkruteyam avidya. Next, somebody asked a question regarding this avidya. Kim kruta iyam avidya. What is avidya due to? Due to means what is the reason? What is the cause which brought about this avidya? And then the questioner himself analyzes his question little more deeply or little more elaborately. He himself analyzes. What is the cause of it? Now, if you say there is a cause, nahi karanantaramasti yena swapnadivat agantuki syada vidya shuddha brahma samsargani. Nahi karanantaramasti. Now there is no another reason. Yena swapnadivat agantuki syat avidya. There is no another reason for ajnana to arise. If there were a reason, then ajnana would have arisen due to that factor. What is that factor which brings about avidya? What is that condition? What is that cause? What is that condition? On that condition, avidya comes into effect. Is it a specific situation, a specific reason due to which avidya comes into existence? Just like a dream. Dream, he is talking from the worldly standpoint, he is talking from the waking standpoint. From the waking standpoint, we say dream comes due to some reason. This is how the common man thinks that due to some reason dream comes. So swapnavata agantuki. Agantuki means it is an incidental and not natural. Syat. Yena swapnadivat agantuki syat avidya shuddha brahma samsargini. Now, is there any reason due to which avidya comes and sticks to Brahman? Then Brahma gets affected. Brahman, which is pure consciousness, gets affected due to this avidya, which comes into effect due to some reason. Can we say that? Then the second reason is, if you accept such a reason, such a cause, because of that cause, avidya comes. If you say it is due to some cause, then what happens? What is that cause? Is there a cause before avidya came? Then if there is a cause other than Brahman, then there will be Dvaitam. Karanantara abhyupagamecha Dvaitavada prasangaha. If you accept such a cause for avidya, then what happens? That the second factor always remains. Second factor remains as a reality additional to Brahma. It remains all the time a real factor addition to Brahma. And that factor keeps on creating avidya, like Satan. In Abrahamic religions, Satan is always there. It creates a problem to God. God doesn't know how to handle Satan. Because there is another parallel to God is a Satan. May not be equally powerful, But the way if you look at their religions, Satan is more powerful than God, and God is more afraid of Satan. If you look at their religions, Abrahamic religions, anyway, just an example we are taking. We are not going into their theology, just taking as an example. If you say that there is another Satan, equally powerful and challenging God's question, then there is a parallel. So there will be a factor parallel to Brahma. Is there a factor parallel to Brahma and which keeps on projecting avidya upon Brahma all the time? Each time Brahma gives up, it projects avidya on him. Is there such a factor? If there is a factor, then Brahman would not be so free. If Brahman would not be non-dual, if he were non-dual, he would not be free, because there is a second factor always challenging his freedom, challenging his independence, posing a threat to his freedom and happiness. If there was a second factor, opposite to Brahman, parallel to Brahman, parallelly existing, it would pose a threat to the very existence of Brahman, to the peace of Brahman, and he would push him into ajnana. That ajnana keeps on coming on to him. If there is a factor other than Brahma, if there is a factor that brings about avidya, and that factor happens to be real, then, because if that factor brings about avidya, then that factor becomes real. That real factor is always a problem to Brahman, because it doesn't leave Brahman as non-dual and free. Okay, Dvaitavada prasangaha, then there would be an undesirable situation of Brahman having a parallel reality and challenging his freedom and non-duality. There is another factor. Okay, naisargiki tu. Okay, if you want to avoid this situation, then you have to say there is no cause for ignorance. Ignorance itself is natural. Okay, if there is no causing factor, then the ignorance is an incidental thing. No, it is not an effect produced by some factor. If you don't want to accept, in order to retain non-duality of Brahman, total freedom of Brahman, if you don't want to accept a factor which causes avidya, then you have to say avidya is natural. You have to say avidya is naisargiki. See, what is the cause of avidya? He put a question. Two alternatives he has given. Is it natural? Natural means, is it instinctive, or is it caused by a factor, produced by a factor? Is it produced by a factor or natural? Natural means not caused by anybody, it is just a beginningless instinctive. If it is naisargiki, first factor would give us a problem, would land us in Dvaitam. In Dvaitam again, Brahman won't be free. If you take the first alternative, that the avidya is produced by certain factor alternative to Brahman, then Brahman would not be free. Okay, then take the another alternative, that it is instinctive and beginningless. He says naisargiki tu avidyam brahmanasya katamasyaha prahanam upapadyate. If it is instinctive and beginningless, the problem arises, how are you going to remove it? If it is instinctive and beginningless, what is beginningless is going to be endless. This is a natural law of anything. What is beginningless is endless also. What is instinctive, nobody can remove it, because what is naturally there remains natural. It is endless. So katham tasya prahanam upapadyate. How can removal of such instinctive natural avidya possible? Katham tasya prahanam katham asyaha prahanam upapadyate. Why? You may ask, why you are doubting? Why are you doubting? Its removal is impossible? Yeah, it is impossible. Because he says, Nahi naisargikyaha samuchittiravakalpyate. What is natural, what is instinctive, cannot be removed by anything. If it could be removed, then it is not natural. Say, note it. If it could be removed, then that means it is incidental, it is not natural. It is not natural to it is incidental. If it is incidental, you fall into the first option, first alternative. Then what is the reason which brought about this avidya? Okay? What is the reason which brought about this avidya? So then you will go into, if there is a factor which produces avidya, that factor becomes a challenge to the non-dual Brahman. So you will fall into that first alternative. Then if you take the second alternative, if it is natural, then how are you going to remove natural? No natural thing can be removed. In fact, the very idea of natural means it is neither brought about by something nor it can be removed by something. Neither it is caused by something nor it can be removed by something. That's what natural means. If you call it natural, then either way it won't go. If you say it is incidental, then avidya, then the causing factor becomes a permanent, eternal threat to non-duality. So non-duality is not possible, Brahmatvam, freedom is not possible. If you take it natural, either way it is not possible. Natural, then its elimination is impossible. Therefore, samuchittiravakalpyate avidya prahanischa kidrishi. Okay, removal becomes difficult, impossible. Second factor. Another question is, supposing, accept that somehow you remove it. But what is the nature of removal? How do you remove it? What is the nature of removal? After removal, what happens? Is removal an event? Is removal an event that you break it, you destroy it? How? How do you do that? What is the very nature of removal of avidya? First thing is, if it is instinctive and natural, removing becomes impossible. Suppose you accept that, okay, you may remove it, but how? What is the nature of its removal? So, avidya prahanischa kidrishi. These two questions. One more question. Kim avidya rupinyeva, kim va vilakshana. Is that removal also within avidya, or is it outside avidya? Is the removal of ignorance within avidya only, or is it outside avidya? This is the question. Yadi kim avidya rupinyeva kim va vilakshana. Yadi avidya rupinyeva. Okay. Now, if removal is due to avidya and within avidya only. If removal is also due to avidya, what happened? Natarhitasya prahanihi. Because removal is within avidya, then what happens? Even after removal, avidya continues. If removal of ignorance is within avidya only, after removing ignorance, avidya continues. So there is no point in removing. You remove, and even after removal, because you say removal is within avidya. If it is within avidya, then what happens? You will be continuing within avidya only. Or vilakshana. Tasya. So therefore, yadi avidya rupinyeva natarhi tasya prahanihi. Then its removal is impossible. Because even after removal, so-called removal, you continue in avidya. Then removal is not removal. When you continue in the ignorance even after its removal, then avidya is there anyway. So removal has no meaning. Or if you say removal is something outside ignorance, removal is outside ignorance. Who is that outside? What is that factor removing ignorance? Is that factor outside ignorance? If it is outside ignorance, who is that? Outside ignorance is only Brahma. Does Brahma remove ignorance? If Brahma removes ignorance, then when does he remove? Why does he remove? Then all the factors come. If Brahma is always there, eternal, then he should have removed long before. That means avidya should not have existed at all. If Brahman is, since Brahman is eternal, avidya should not have existed at all. Who is that outside avidya to remove avidya? What is that factor to remove avidya? Does Brahman remove? Outside avidya, who is that outside avidya? Okay? Vilakshana chet tasyaha paramarthatva prasangaha iti siddhantahanihi. If there is a factor other than avidya to remove it, that other factor will become dual again. That other factor will be there, then that other factor will be helping Brahman. Two things. Does Brahman himself remove? Outside avidya, what is that? Outside avidya, does Brahman himself remove? Or is there a factor other than Brahman that removes it? Okay? If Brahman himself removes, then Brahman would not have allowed avidya at all. Because Brahman is eternal and ever existing. Since he is eternal and ever existing, avidya would never have been there. If Brahman himself had to remove, that means from Brahman's standpoint there would be no avidya at all. In fact, from Brahman's standpoint there is no removal. Why removal? Because it doesn't exist. In the Chaitanya Swarupam, in the nature of pure consciousness, there is no avidya to be removed. Therefore, there is no question of removal. For Brahman, there is no avidya. He is pure consciousness. No avidya, no removal. That means Brahman alone is non-dual. Therefore, then who is that? If there is a factor other than Brahman, then that other factor will be helping Brahman. In helping Brahman to become free from avidya. If the other factor is helping Brahman to become free from avidya, then other factor is more powerful to help Brahma. Brahma becomes secondary. He is helped by somebody else. He is helped by somebody else. Then what happened? Brahma is not free, is not independent, because he is always under the obligation, under the help of somebody else. Who is that somebody else factor? Then Brahman is not totally free. He is not totally independent and non-dual, because he has been helped by another factor. The factor which is more powerful than Brahman. See how Vedanta thinks of it. It's an amazing thinking. Who is going to remove that? Therefore, if the factor is the factor within avidya, is the factor that removes avidya, is within avidya or outside avidya? Two alternatives. If it is within avidya, even after removing you remain in avidya only. If you say an outside factor, then that outside factor becomes a reality, because you removed avidya and the factor always remains. That factor becomes a threat to the very existence of Brahman. That means Brahman is no more non-dual. Okay, let him not be non-dual, so what? That means Brahman is helped by another factor. When Brahman always is helped by another factor, he loses his independence and freedom. He is not total, non-dual and absolute. His absoluteness is not there. Then he cannot enjoy that freedom of being absolute. He can't enjoy the joy, the happiness of being absolute and non-dual. That absolute and non-dual is a real freedom. That freedom he cannot have, because he is always helped by another factor. That means he is limited. Once he is limited, then he suffers all other limitations like any other jiva. Okay, like any other jiva, he suffers from all other limitations. So, what will you do? This is a very difficult question. Okay? How are we to answer? So, vilakshana chettasyaha paramarthatva prasangaha. If the factor which removes ignorance, is that knowledge? Yes, a knowledge removes. Is the knowledge something additional to Brahma? That knowledge will be always helping Brahman. So, Brahman and knowledge, there will be two factors. So, Paramartha Prasangaha iti Siddhantahanihi. Your Siddhanta, that Brahman is non-dual, is given up. that your Siddhanta, your Siddhanta means the final teaching, the central teaching of Vedanta itself receives a setback. See, Siddhanta Hanihi means your Siddhanta receives a setback. That means the Siddhanta of his Brahman being non-dual and absolute suffers. That Siddhanta suffers, so it is not a true. Then how do you answer? This is the question Purvapakshi asked, or Vidyarthi asked, student asked. Now the Swamiji's answer is a very mystic answer Swamiji gives. It is a very, very subtle answer. Let me try. Let me try to explain as much as I can. Tadapyetenaiva pratyuktam bhavati. Even that is answered by this only. What is that? Avidya is from the standpoint of avidya. This point has to be understood thoroughly. Avidya only from the standpoint of avidya. In fact, it is not there. This itself is a very subtle and important point. That's why in Adhyasa we told, Adhyasam Puraskrit, Adhyasa is instinctive, natural, and one more thing he says, Adhyasa is from the standpoint of Adhyasa. In itself it doesn't exist. This itself answers everything if this point is clearly understood. We take avidya as something existing and then put a question. The problem, this question it becomes difficult to get an answer to this question. See, we have explained the question so far. All this question assumes one biggest defect in the question, you see. Have you observed the defect in the question? He thinks avidya means there is something there really. There is something there and you have to remove. This is the biggest problem. Once we say avidya, you assume it is there. Once you assume that it is there, then you question how to remove it. Is the removal within avidya, outside avidya? Who is to remove? How does avidya come? Is it due to outside factor, inside? All these questions come only due to one factor. You assume that it is there. See, you assume that it is there and put all these questions. You will not find any answer. Because the very initial assumption that avidya is some factor, is some element, is some entity, something is there. And now you put a question. Once your initial assumption will not allow any answer, that itself is a problem. You get the point? Then if you understand that point, that avidya itself is not an entity existing. So when we talk of avidya, we are not accepting that it exists and therefore we are talking of it. It is assumed because you are assuming it, that's all. It is an assumption. Once you question it, the very assumption alone is removed. Very assumption itself is questioned. That's all, it is not there. Where is the question? It itself doesn't exist because it is not an entity that is existing, that then you are trying to answer. Avidya itself is not an entity that is existing. If you assume that it is existing, then all these questions come and no answer is possible. Therefore, Swamiji says, Tadapyetenaiva pratyuktam bhavati. Even that is answered by the very avidya. Avidya drishyaiva avidya abhyupagamat. Such a small sentence answer. I don't know whether people have understood it. I think if you understand this thing, I think you have understood really Vedanta. In fact, the entire Mula Vidya Prakriya, all people misunderstanding, not understanding Advaita, other schools, Vishishta Advaita, Advaita, and so many schools have appeared. To be able to explain Advaita, even Mula Vidya Prakriya has come and other schools have come simply because of non-understanding this factor. Avidya itself is not an entity we are talking about. When we talk about avidya, we are not assuming that there is avidya. It is for sake of speaking, for sake of teaching, it is assumed. And you question it, the very answer is, itself is not there what you have assumed. It is only an assumption, not a reality, not an entity. So no question of removal also. You understand it is an assumption alone, it doesn't exist, then gone. Answer is over. This is a simple, short answer Swamiji gives. Avidya drishtaiva avidya abhyupagamat. For this, Sureshwaracharya also says, avidyayam eva sitva avidya iti prakalpate. Brahma drishtya avidyayam na kathanchana kalpate. Avidyayam eva sitva. See, being in avidya, you talk of avidya. Assuming avidya, you talk of avidya. In the very talk, there is already assumption. In the assumption alone, you talk of avidya. You question the very assumption, then it falls flat. No question. No question is possible and no answer is required. The basis of question is pulled out, is removed. Because you are assuming and talking of it. We question the very assumption. Oh, you mean it is not there? You mean even that avidya is an assumption? Yes. You question it. Is it really there? Don't assume. Don't assume first that. You question the assumption. It's gone. Now you put a question. You have no room. You have no basis for question. Neither question nor answer. All of them go away. This is a simple answer. Therefore, Suresh Bhashakara says, avidya is swabhavika. Avidyam adhyasam puraskritya. That first question of Adhyasa Bhasha is an amazing sentence. Adhyasam puraskritya sarve pramana prameya vyavahara. Even to talk of avidya, you are assuming avidya. I hope the answer is there already in this small sentence. In this small simple explanation, answer is come. Answer is already given. Okay? I just say again, see, avidya drishtaiva avidya abhyupagamat. This is an important thing to be underlined. I don't know whether I have underlined in the English translation. Avidya drishtaiva avidya abhyupagamat. Therefore, avidya is accepted. See, avidya is an assumption. Assumption from the standpoint of assumption alone. That means you question the assumption. It's not there. It's a very, very, very subtle and very interesting and most important. In fact, the most important thing about avidya is only this point. That's why Bhashakara says swabhavika. Swamiji also wrote so many books. A whole life long he struggled for this. The misunderstanding is you take avidya as an entity. It is something is there. And try to put logic and hypothesis. Mula Vidya is a hypothesis, and then other schools other than Advaitins, they try to question how does the Jagat come, how does the Jiva come, how does the Samsara come. You have to explain the reason. Any reason you explain, then again another reason, another doubt. More and more doubts come. More and it gives room to more questions than answers. You try. Any question you give, any answer you give, each answer comes up with, produces more questions, gives room for more questions rather than answer. Therefore, no answer can satisfy, no answer can solve this problem. Because the initial problem is you are assuming that there is avidya. So, this is an instinctive assumption. In that assumption, you are talking, you are discussing, you are listening, you are discussing Vedanta, putting questions, all this is, there is already unconscious assumption. Question that assumption. Is it there? Gone. When the assumption is questioned, it debunked. It is debunked, it goes. Then that's our answer is gone. Question is gone. Then the answer is not required. Therefore, avidya drishtaiva avidya abhyupagamat tat prahanescha anavidyakaya kasyascha anabhyupagamat. Swamiji giving another answer. But the first answer is that brief statement alone. Avidya drishtaiva avidya abhyupagamat. Okay, you think over this. This is a real answer. In this answer, you know how to be free from avidya. You are Brahman, that's all. You get this answer, you are free from avidya. You are free from avidya. In fact, all the questions about avidya goes away when avidya is removed. Avidya not removed, understood that there is no avidya. There is no removal in fact. By all your inquiry, all your vichara, you come to understand There was never there avidya, neither was nor is nor will ever be. Avidya itself never existed, therefore there was no question of all these things. Abba. That means the mind's nature of assumption itself is removed, shaken. The very assumption is shaken. It shakes off its assumption. Then you are Swatasiddha Brahman. Once that assumption of there is something other than Brahman, mind somehow is in the assumption that there is something other than Brahman. That's all. I am somebody other than Brahman. And this somebody is an individuality. Individuality itself is an assumption. And in this assumption, you see there is a world and me and the world and all these things. This assumption itself is questioned. Okay? You question the very assumption. That's all. Avidya is not an entity. Is not something you need to put a question. How does it come? It is not come. Then how does it go? There is no need to go because it doesn't exist. Where is the need to go? If you understand that there is no going because it itself doesn't exist, where is the question of going? It doesn't exist as it is. Where is the question of going? So when you understand avidya itself doesn't exist, that is freedom. So that means in your very instinctively under that assumption all these questions are arising. All this teaching is required only in the assumption, as long as you are in that assumption. So the purpose of teaching is not that I am going to give answer, not that Vedanta gives answer from outside. Your mind itself is a problem. Under that assumption it is putting a question. We make you to question the very assumption. You question the assumption, that is answer. That is answer. The very assumption is shaken. There is no avidya, there is only Brahman. Once avidya is not there, there is no second. When there is no second, then there is only non-divine. That's all. Therefore, avidya drishtaiva avidya abhyupagamat. Okay, nacha. So we don't talk of a factor which is outside avidya, we're going to remove. Outside avidya means other than assumption. Avidya is not a factor, is not something, an entity which is other than assumption. Assumption is adhyasa. That's why Swamiji used to call adhyasa is a misunderstanding, is a misconception. It is an assumption. Therefore, tat prahanescha anavidyakaya kasyaschit anabhyupagamat. So there is no real factor which is going to remove avidya, because avidya itself is an assumption. Why do you need a factor to remove? Because it's an assumption. What do you need for assumption? See, what is wrongly thought of? You thought of that there is a snake. You misunderstood. You have a wrong thinking that there is a snake. You misunderstood rope for snake. Now, do you need a real factor to remove the snake? He says, see, there is a snake. Please help me to remove it. Now, what should you do? Yes, we are preparing. We are bringing something, a stick to beat the snake and kill it. Or we bring something. Now, do you need some real factors to remove the snake? All that you need to understand is there was never a snake. That's all. There is never a snake. There is only rope. Enough. Over. So, the questioning the very assumption solves all the problem. So, there is no factor outside assumption, because outside assumption means you are taking assumption to be a real, the snake to be a real. Therefore, you want a real factor to come and remove it. Therefore, we never accepted. Vedanta never told that there is a factor outside avidya to remove avidya. That means, assuming avidya, we talk of its removal. But there is no real removal. Question the very assumption. Assumption is gone. Then removal, all that becomes meaningless. Because once the very avidya itself is understood as non-existent, then removal has no meaning. So you question the very, when they say, I am ignorant, I am an individual, I am a jiva. Are you individual? Are you jiva? No, but I see the world. Do you see the world? I think Ramana Maharshi is very straight in these things. He talks directly, that final statement alone, that Mahavakya he said. Are you individual? Is there a world? Is there something dual? First, is it there? He says, yes, it is there. People answer instead of listening to Ramana Maharshi's statement, they try to answer. Means in their answer they are already assuming. Ramana Maharshi was asking the people to first question the very assumption. You remaining in the assumption, you put a question. He says, Ramana Maharshi says, I won't answer. When you are putting a question, your question presupposes something. Okay? Your question presupposes something. You supposing something, you put a question. He is asking, is that presupposition there? You question the very presupposition. You presuppose something, any question presupposes something. And he said, you question the very presupposition. Is it there first? You question that. When your presupposition is pulled out, your question falls flat. That's all. How beautifully he answers. Therefore, avidya is not a factor. Therefore, all non-Advaitins trying to say that the problem is there, jiva is there, world is there, then God will come and remove you. When we say assuming that somebody will come and remove itself is through your assumption that I am a jiva, that there is a world, that I am suffering from samsara, and somebody is required to remove it. God may remove or not remove is the next question. See, they question Advaita. Hey, you fellows don't accept God and you fellows are atheists, they question. We say, whether we are atheist or not, we will leave it. We will leave the question for a while. We will answer later. God exists or not? See, we leave the question. He says, you answer first. Do you Advaitins believe God or not? Do you believe Bhagavan or not? If you don't believe, you are atheist. We don't want to talk to you. You are an atheist. What is there to talk about? We won't talk to you. They talk like this. Now, Advaitin, it's very difficult to answer because he himself is caught up in his own assumption. We say, whether God is a factor comes and helps you, then if you don't accept God, that means there is nobody helping you to remove your samsara. You remain in samsara. If you don't accept God, there is nobody to remove your samsara. You remain samsari, there is nobody to remove you. You will remain eternal samsari. Therefore, you must accept God. First accept God and then I'll talk to you. They will talk like that. Vedantin says, Abba, what a pitiable. Ayyo, the fellow is not even listening. He is caught up in his own assumption. We are on, it doesn't allow us to answer. He doesn't even listen. Under the assumption, he gets carried away by his own assumption. Such an instinctive assumption, he lives in it and he gets carried away by it. Then the Mula Vidyavadins, of course, much better than other non-Advaitins. But within Advaita, they also probably they mean the same, but their presentation is, the basic thing is you assume that there is a world, assume that there is a jiva. See, there is an instinct. I am not assuming. People say, you are not assuming. I am not telling you that you are assuming. I only say, you, the very individual you, the very world is within that assumption. Due to that assumption, you find yourself to be an individual jiva and facing a world. Time, space, subject, object, duality. All this is an assumption. We are presenting that. All this is an assumption only. So, directly look at it. This is an assumption. This is a swabhavika adhyasa. Instinctive adhyasa. And then Mula Vidyavadins take this adhyasa is there, how adhyasa has come about, who produced it. In this question means in this way of inquiry, in this way of prakriya, this way of presenting adhyasa, they say adhyasa is there. It is some factor, then it needs a cause. So your mind is assuming that adhyasa is there. And it needs a cause. It is a cause-hunting nature of mind they are encouraging. Cause-hunting. Cause-hunting involves 2 points. One is cause-hunting. Second is, it assumes that it is there. Assuming that it is there, it is looking for a cause. Okay? That assumption is reinforced. And the cause is hunt. Hunted, I don't know whether hunted is the word, past tense is there in English, I don't know. My English is poor. So hunt, let us say hunt or hunted. So you are hunting a cause, assuming that it is really there. It is there and you need a cause. These two factors are again assumption. Swamiji's Prakriya says that you are already in an assumption. That it is there, that it needs a cause. These two are again assumption. Question the very assumption. That is instinctive. The very assumption is instinctive. That's why adhyasa is the basic factor. It is due to that alone all this is. See how within the assumptions their Prakriya is working. Swamiji's Prakriya, Adhyasa Prakriya says, in the assumption alone you are talking. Question the very assumption. Any answer you give, taking that assumption for granted. Any answer you give, you are only stretching the assumption. You are working within the assumption. You are continuing the assumption. You are not questioning it. In Adhyasa Prakriya of Swamiji, why Swamiji it is a Shankaracharya's. In the Adhyasa Prakriya of Shankaracharya, or of Sureshwara, or of Gaudapada, or of Sachidananda Swamiji, the very assumption is questioned. Now, don't take the assumption for granted and work within the assumption. Assumption, Vidya is there, Jagat is there, and I am Jiva there. Then how did I come about as a Jiva? How Jagat has come about? Then you look for a factor. So, looking for a factor is a cause hunting. Cause hunting means you are assuming that this world is a product and you are hunting for a cause. So, this assumption itself is avidya. This is what we say. Okay? You got the point? The very assumption is adhyasa. And question that. Gone. Once you understand this very assumption, being an assumption, you are putting a question. All your question, all your samsara, all this is due to adhyasam puraskritya sar. See how beautiful, I think, one adhyasa bhashya explains everything of Vedanta. That's why Swamiji told Adhyasa Bhashya itself is one independent text. It covers the entire Vedanta in one small piece. Swamiji made it into a one full-fledged text, and I made it into 250 talks. I don't know, 250 talks. So, on that, because it answers everything. You don't need to study any Vedanta. In this, all Vedanta is included. You can answer any question because there is no question. All questions are assumptions only. All questions are assuming you put a question. You question the very assumption, it is gone. All answers are there. That is simple. See, answering anything is easy. Answering all questions of Vedanta is easy because all questions are false. That's the only thing. That's the only answer. So it becomes easy to answer. That's why we read so many books. People used to keep on reading. Mandukya is like that. Sutra Bhashya is like that. People keep on quotation, Shankara Bhashya like that. It looks so childish to me. Why do you read so many quotations? All quotations mean the same thing. People go by more of a scholarship rather than directly your anubhava. In anubhava, the mind which is looking for Bhashya, the mind which is looking for Guru itself is a Jiva Bhava. It is assuming that I am a Jiva, I need an answer. I am a Jiva, I am suffering and are you suffering, are you Jiva? Question that. You are neither Jiva, not suffering any samsara. And why do you need any Guru, any Shastra, any book, any Vedanta? You are already free. You are already free, you are non-dual. Once you question it, the adhyasa is understood that it is not there. Once the very assumption is questioned, assumption dissolves and it is not there. Then you are already free. Okay, this is the simple, straight answer. And all Vedanta is included in this today's 5 minutes talk. Okay, all Vedanta is there. All questions, all answers, everything is answered in this one thing. Swamiji's answer is amazing, amazing, I tell you. Directly he touches Vedanta. Okay, tadapyetenaiva pratyuktam bhavati avidya drishtaiva avidya abhyupagamat. This answer still is giving quotations and answering. We will discuss little more about this thing in the next class. I hope we will not have more obstacles like this. I think some other obstacles coming. This morning only I wanted to do talk. Something they are working in my room. I think some electrician came and only whole day I am sitting outside only. So class could not be held. I hope that tomorrow at least some time we will get. I think within few talks we can finish. I think only 2 pages, just 2 pages. Why 2 pages? Yeah, just 2 pages. Within 4 or 5 talks we'll finish. Okay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.